Hi, my name is Savannah. I'm just a regular person who loves to knit and crochet. This is my second knitting podcast. Incredible. By some literal miracle, I recorded my first podcast last Monday, have been editing it throughout the week because I wanted to record another one Monday, a week later, which is today. It's uploading right now. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like, do I have ADHD? Undecided. Anyways, let's get into it. I've made a little bit of progress on some of the things I talked about last video. I've made zero progress on others. Let's talk about it. I had talked last week about wanting to start sailor slippers for myself for my upcoming birthday cabin trip. Oh my God, I forgot to address the elephant in the room. Notice how my shelves look worser than they did last week? They look like they've been through some kind of windstorm, and that's because we switched rooms. This is my first knitting podcast in my new craft room. We decided to switch the craft room and my daughter's room, just to zhuzh it up a bit. Anyway, so now I'm in my new craft room. That means that we had to take all of the yarn off of these shelves, transport the shelves into the other room, put the yarn all back on. I was trying to think about when I would go back through and make these shelves beautiful, and I think I'm going to do it when I start the stash roulette video series. So whatever shelf color I roll, I'll address the shelf when I roll for the color. That's the vibe. Because I don't feel like the hyperfixation of fixing these shelves hasn't hit me yet. So I'm just going to try to work it into a different video idea. Anyways, what was I talking about before that? Sailor slippers. I wanted sailor slippers for myself for my upcoming birthday cabin trip in about 2 weeks. So I started them. The lore is that I bought like 15 of these Lion Brand Woolies roving skeins. I think there's like almost 300 yards in each one, so they're quite big. I bought one of every color back in December when I made mittens for everybody, and I've just been working down my stash ever since. Then I got 3 new skeins from my dad who wanted sailor slippers. I made him sailor slippers. So I've been just trying to work through the stash of Lion Brand Woolies roving. So when you hold that double and you use 8mm needles, I get gauge for the sailor slipper pattern. Anyways, so these are scrappy. And they're not done. I just started them. Here they are. Where's the other one? Here they are. Yeah. Like I said, they're scrappy. I wasn't sure I was going to have enough to just do pink and red stripes. So I put the yellow stripes in the middle of them. Also on the heel. Tell me that doesn't look like a hot dog. That looks like a hot dog. Anyways, so these are my hot dog slippers. Just this side. So this has the pink, the red, and the yellow stripe in the middle. And then this was the same sole color as the one I used for my dad. There is so much yarn in these skeins. So I got to make the sole a solid color in the pink one. And then in the other one, I had some of this really like light tan color. So at first when I ran out of this tan color, I only ran out of one strand of it. So I held it with both. And then I ran out of it completely, and then I just held the lighter color double. For the soles, I really don't care what it looks like. I really don't. It's the bottom of the shoe. But I think this is really cute, actually, so. Yeah, and then the light blue and the navy blue over here is the same yarn that I used for my dad's sailor slippers. Those were the colors he picked. Not with the yellow, obviously, but I don't know. I thought the yellow would kind of tie them together. I don't know. In a perfect world, I would just have pink and red striped sailor slippers. So cute, but I don't have enough yarn for that. And this is fine. I'm okay with this. So now I just have to seam them up, which is my least favorite part, and then add the I-cord edge. I have two ideas for the I-cord edge. I could do yellow on both and really tie them together again, or I could do opposites, like a blue on this one and a pink or a red on this one. I haven't decided. So anyways, hopefully these will be done by the next knitting podcast, because if I stop now, when it gets to the sewing portion, not sure I'll ever finish them. Same logic for weaving in ends, unfortunately, because I don't like to do that. But I feel good about my progress. And then once these are totally done, I feel like I'll be able to fit all of my roving yarn scraps. I've got the majority of like the really, really small scraps in like a gallon Ziploc. I kind of feel like I might be able to fit all of it in the Ziploc, which would be really nice. And I'm holding on to the yarn scraps because I feel like they could really come in handy if I ever decide to felt something. And that's my logic, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, next, I haven't made any progress on my scrappy sweater. This used to be a crochet sweater, and I'm re-knitting it. Well, I'm just knitting it. I unraveled it, and now I'm knitting it. Whatever. It's a stash. It used to be a crochet sweater, and it's made out of worsted acrylic yarn held double, and I just magic knotted as I went, but then I didn't like it, so I frogged it, and it was held double, but then I separated the skeins, and now I'm knitting a step-by-step sweater by Florence Miller with the magic knotted stash scrappy acrylic yarn. Okay. I'm gonna try really hard this time to talk about the yarn and the needles. So worsted weight stash acrylic, magic knotted together. Oh my god, 5 millimeter needles. Thank you, notebook. So I'm at the point where I have made some progress on the sleeve. I started, sorry, I'm like connected, so it's hard to wrangle it up here to show you. I have made some progress on the sleeve because there's such a smaller circumference than the body. The stripes are turning out a lot thicker, which like I don't love. So starting my next row, I'm going to start doing 2 row stripes. And the reason I think I'll get away with it is because it's thick here, and we go through a period of rows where it's very thin, like 1 to 3 rows, and then the stripes get a little bit thicker at the bottom. So I was thinking it might balance it out that these have been a little bit thicker, and as the sleeve gets smaller, I continue to do decreases. The circumference is only going to get even smaller. So I think having the smaller stripes here will balance it out. Because I think these stripes at their thickest are like 6 rows, maybe 7 rows. Yeah, and this stripe is a 6-row stripe. I think having skinny stripes on the body at the top and thicker ones at the bottom, and reversing it on the sleeves, having thicker ones here and then skinnier ones as you get to the bottom, will hopefully balance it out. I don't know. I'm just vibing. I'm just going for it. I'm not God. I've been through it. I have been through it with this sweater about like picking the colors, and I'm just not going to do that. I'm just going to doing the stripes is like just so I'm connected to 2 balls, and deciding to stripe them is the only thing that is like lowering my stress levels about not loving the colors that come next. Okay. I did try this on and figured out that I need 8 more inches in the sleeve from this point. So that's including the cuff. So I need to do just like a little bit of pattern double checking. And also I need to take notes on and put a stitch marker at this point so that I can mirror it. I need to do a little bit of math to make sure that if the cuff is like 2 inches, let's say, to make sure that I can do enough decreases in the remaining 6 inches of the sleeve before the cuff to make it small enough for my liking. And then I have to write all of that down so I can copy it on the other sleeve. So that's where I'm at with this. Much like the collar is a solid color, the 2 cuffs and the bottom hem are all solid colors as well. They're all different, but they're all solids, just like the original crochet sweater. And actually, since we're talking about it, I'm going to put a picture up of what the sweater looked like when it was crocheted. Perfect. So I'm doing this sleeve, just got to do a little bit. I've done the measurements, just got to do a little bit more math for my decreases. And then do the other sleeve and then put it on and measure how much longer I want the body to be, accounting for the hem, and finish that. So really I should just do this. That's my progress on the step-by-step sweater by Florence Miller. Now let's talk about socks. In my last video, I had showed you the yarn I wanted to use for my new sock project, and I have started on the sock project. I'm using the afterthought heel method from the book The Sock Project by Summer Lee. The main color I'm using for the socks is Patton's Croy socks in the colorway Clover Colors. And the contrast color, where is it? Thought it was in this little bag. Oh my God, it's all the way over there. Anyways, the contrast color is, I found the label. It's Cascade Yarns Heritage Paints in the color 9784. That's the label. I'm so sorry, future me. Here's a picture of the yarn. Does that take less effort than just getting it from the shelf over there? We'll never know. Anyways, I started it. Maybe this is good enough. This is the Cascade Yarns Heritage Paints. I Googled it. The color is either tortoise shell or autumn. I couldn't really get a clear answer, so I just put both. It's color changing too, with like red, orange, greenish brown, but just like slower color changes or like more defined. Whatever. You have eyes. You got this. The main color, the Patton's Croy, is working up way differently than I thought it would. I thought it would be much more obvious, but in truth, it's like, I feel like there's a background color, like it's plied. Couldn't think of that word. I feel like it's plied with like a main background color and then a couple smaller threads of contrast color. So it's not very noticeable. Like back here, it just looks like kind of green. But I think up here, the main ply is the more darker green teal situation, and it moves into the lighter green. I know it's hard to see, but there's flecks of orange in it. So there is variation. You can tell this is a little darker than this is lighter, but I thought it would be way more noticeable. Plus there's a lot more orange in this section. Anyways, I don't know, but I think it's fine. Like as a sock, I think you can see the orange and the red in here more, and it kind of ties in with the cuff. I think it's fine. I was worried that the skeins wouldn't match, but I don't think the color changes are as noticeable as they seem to be. I'm not sure. And truly, I won't know until I make both socks anyways. So in true afterthought heel form, I'm just knitting this tube until it is long enough. I think it's like 12 inches or something. I'll have to look it up, but these are for my husband, and he wears a size 12. So this time though, when I place my afterthought heel, when I pick up for it, I mean, like when I place my stitch marker for where to cut and then I pick up the stitches, I'm going to take into account the fact that doing an afterthought heel adds the same amount of length to the foot as the toe does, because it's the same amount of stitches. So it's the same like number of decreases. They're identical. So I need to take that into consideration and move the stitch marker closer to the toe by that much so that it fits, hopefully. This is really like my mindless project. If I'm like, I don't knit too much on the go, I'm gonna be honest. I'll bring it with me sometimes because this is easy, because it's just stockinette. I'm just working on this in the background. But I've made quite a bit of progress in just this 1 week. I hadn't cast this on yet when I recorded the last podcast. And I should put a stitch marker so I can measure my progress in the upcoming week. That would be smart. What the heck? I've done 7 inches of knitting in 1 week on the sock. I'm pretty I'm happy with that. So that's my sock progress. This is going to be a little difficult to show you. Guess what this? Wow, it's like very blown out. This is like bubblegum pink. It's worsted weight acrylic yarn from my stash on 4 and 4.5 millimeter US. I kind of forget. I think millimeter. I thrifted these. These are so chaotic. Definitely millimeter. Anyways, 10 stitches, worked stockinette. This is my second one. The first one was 12 stitches across, and this one is 10 because I just figured out I actually only need it to be 10 stitches wide, which is like 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches, not quite. The other one's definitely 2 inches, and I just don't need that much. And I have to knit this rectangle for 17 inches, and I'll show you why. Last week I told you, I warned you, I was going to steek my daughter's step-by-step sweater. And I cut it. I sure did. And here's what it's looking like so far. Eee! I have only done 1/2 of the steek. Yeah, okay. So I used a Patons Kroy sock actually because it was the only 100% wool yarn that I had that was plied and wasn't superwash. And I just picked the lightest one I have. I don't remember the color name for it, but it's like a light blue, light bluish gray. I don't know. That's why I picked it. And I used it to stabilize the stitches on either side of the central stitch going up the sweater. I looked up a video. Whoa, this is incredible. Okay, so that's crazy. I follow this YouTube channel, never looked at the name of it. It's Nimble Needles. That's my favorite beanie pattern guy. That's crazy. His name is Norman Schwartz. I know that because he designed the Mutse beanie that I love so much. That's crazy. Anyways, I didn't know that was him. He puts out a lot of like tutorial and tips and trick videos, and he has one that's called How to Steek Like a Pro! 3 easy ways for all projects. And in that video, he demonstrates a technique. There's like felting, there's a crochet, slip stitch, but for yarn types that are less secure, that are not feltable, like cotton and acrylic too, he recommends sewing. So it's like a back stitching type of a stitch. So that's what I did. He recommended to use a yarn to do the sewing that is capable of felting, like wool. So that's why I chose that sock yarn to do my stitching. Okay, so I stitched up 2 columns on either side of my central stitch. Then I cut the central stitch, and because it's acrylic, okay, it's actually great that this is half done so that you can see what it looks like. Oh, my lenta. I haven't even picked up these stitches yet. Stop. I hate straight knitting needles. I hate them. Okay, there's my gray stitching for back stitching it down before I cut it. Haven't picked up for the side of the button band yet because I haven't really been like touching this project. It's been laying flat. I've been working on one side at a time. So I haven't picked up these stitches yet, but you'll notice already that up to the stitching, it's unraveling. It's secure where the stitching is at. It won't unravel past that, but it's just really unfinished and not that secure. So once I pick up for the button band, all those little ends are just sticking out. And because this is such a thick yarn, this is Karen Chunky Cake, I think. Oh, the color name is Sweet and Sour. That's crazy. That just came to me. When I was doing the button band, I didn't want to do a folded over button placket. It would be so thick having this fabric folded over. So I decided to knit a steek reinforcement out of worsted weight acrylic and just sew it down over those loose ends and kind of trap them flat against the fabric. That's my thinking. Is it crazy? Probably. Would I ever do it like this again? No. No, I wouldn't. What would I do instead? I don't know. Honestly, I don't think I would ever make a garment in yarn this thick again. So I think instead, when I steek again, steeking is fine. When I steek again, hopefully I'd be knitting in a yarn that is thinner than this, that would be more suitable for a folded over button band. I think that's what I would do differently next time, because the sewing and the steeking and all that is like fine. Okay, let me show you the finished edge. I decided to do the button placket in the same yarn as the rest of the sweater, and I picked up two out of 3 stitches. Picked up 2 stitches for every 3 stitches. I don't really know how I'm supposed to phrase that, but yeah, it's obviously like coming in a little bit. It's a little smaller. I don't know if 2 out of 3 was quite the right. I don't know. The thing is, I counted and there was 12 stitches across in the same, I think it was like 2 inches and 18 rows for 2 inches. So like 12 divided by 6 is 2, 18 divided by 6 is 3, 2 to 3. I don't know, but then I did size down. This was all knit on an 8mm needle, and I did size down to a 7 for the ribbing because I didn't like how I was looking on an 8, and I couldn't remember if I had done 7 or 8 for the collar. I don't know. I'm just winging it. I think it'll be fine because the collar was coming up a little bit too high for my daughter's liking, so maybe having it slant down a little bit will actually be a little more preferable to her. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I'm really not worried about it. So this is the inside, and this is the steek reinforcement that I sewed down. I sewed it down with thread, just by hand, with like a, kind of like a whip stitch. So that's what the steek reinforcement looks like. I don't know, I'm just winging it. But I do think once it's all said and done, it will be very cute as a little cardigan. I'm really excited about it. So it's going well, and it's almost done. I just have to knit the other steek reinforcement. I need to pick up stitches for the other button band. I'll probably do that today. And then this was my leftovers from knitting the sweater the first time and doing the one button band. Used up most of the light pink in the center of this, and the next color up is white. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to tell you. I am doing 6 rows on the button band and then doing Italian bind off. So this next one that I knit, I'll have to do the buttonholes. And I'm just really pleased that most of that button band will be white, because then I can pick all my crazy colored buttons. Let me get my, okay, 2 seconds. I'm gonna grab my buttons. I'm also gonna grab that sock yarn so I don't have to put a picture in. You get the vibe. This is that Cascade Yarns Heritage Paint in the color Tortoise Shell or Autumn. Okay, that's enough for you. This is my button container. Oh, in it you can kind of see I do have some blue buttons and lime green buttons, pink, influencer hand, pink, pink. So I'm excited to go through my buttons and pick out the buttons to match this. I've got some big buttons that are just one-offs that I would love to use for this, that I think would match really nicely. It just occurred to me though that I need to think about how many buttons I want to put on this. I'm feeling like 4. That way I could do like a teal, a lime green, a hot pink, and a light pink. But I don't think I would put one at the very top. I think I'll actually need her to try it on. But I think I'm going to do all the buttonholes on row 3 or 4 out of 6. I gotta think about it. Anyways, so I'm making great progress on steeking this cardigan, because why not? I think that's everything that I'm working on currently. I've made 0 progress on the poncho, in case you were wondering. The only progress I've made on it is putting it in the living room, but I haven't actually worked on it. That's everything I worked on for this week. I'm excited to finish this cardigan, and my sweater too, actually. That's my progress. I don't have any new acquisitions. I typically don't have new acquisitions. I'm trying to deplete, not increase. So hopefully I'm going to start that stash roulette series soon. I'm really excited about that. I think it'll be so much fun. And I'm just going to keep plugging away at these fun little projects, and I will update you next week. Thanks for watching.